What's up guys, it's ID1 and today I'm offering you to take a trip with me. We're gonna take a trip to a history in the 19th century in Russia, and we also are visiting a very special mansion that is situated in the middle of the Moscow city. This is the place where the factory where some electronics is made, and this is the famous Nosov's house. The owner of the house was an entrepreneur, and the house, as you can see, is very beautiful. It's pretty big, a lot of glass windows, and the most interesting part is that you cannot find houses like that in Moscow, because private houses is very expensive to have within the city borders. I think you know that. So to understand the whole thing about this beautiful house, we have to go back to the history, back to the 19th century. Right now we have a capitalism, and that means that you can actually own some private property and you can own a business. But for almost 100 years we didn't have that. We had a social property, and that's the main philosophy of socialism. This house was built in 1903. The guy called Nosov, that's his surname, he actually was a businessman, and at that time in Russia, before Soviet Union, USSR was actually a very capitalistic country with a lot of businessmen, and Nosov family actually had a production of fabric. Yeah, they have a small plant where the fabric was made. I mean, the tissue, the thing that shorts are made of, or t-shirts are made of, and that was in 1850s, 1860s. So after that, his family became richer and richer. So now he was able to build a house, and that's what he built. He built this house in 1903, and in 1918 year, the owner of this house, the Nosov, with his family had to leave the house because the new government of the Soviet Union just kicked him from the house. Well, that's actually that happened to all businessmen in the Russia country. The whole property that he had, the factory that he had, was actually nationalized. That means that it was now owned by the government. Before 1917 year, it was a country called Russia, and there was a king. Yeah, a king, Nikolai II, and only after 1917 the country became a Soviet Union, a very hardcore country. Actually, Soviet Union had a special ideology. This ideology included socialism. That means that property is owned by government, not by a private person. After that, the whole house was actually used as a kindergarten of the workers that worked on the fabric that Nosov used to own. Afterwards, that was actually a place where workers lived. Yes, right in this house. Soviet Union is over, and right now this is a museum. Yeah, this is a museum where youth is gathered, and they have some cultural evenings there, some historical events, maybe some photo gatherings, and etc. The whole story behind this building is the story behind the country. In the 18th century there were a lot of businessmen. After that there was a social government, and now we have again capitalistic country, but the house is still standing, and that's very strange how the times were different, and different people lived in this house. But the guy who built this house was actually the businessman who had his own plant and his own fabric. So you can actually see what's in this house. There's a lot of clothing from that era, some letters from that era, some posters from that era, and so on. And these are some old documents from the 19th century.
And these are plants, and they're not from the 19th century.
These are Russian banknotes, rubles. They're still rubles, but these are from the 1847. And these are barber shops in the 19th century. So these are very stylish haircuts from that time. There's even an address still. 1905. That's what was popular in Russia at the time. 1912. That was a short lesson of history and a short house excursion. Let me know what you think about this video and the whole idea, and tell me if you wanna see some more stuff from Russia. Even if you don't wanna see some more stuff about Russia, I will still give it. So leave your comments in the comments below, and it was I the one. See ya!